there again, it really gets down to being able to communicate the way we are now, because a woman, when she hears the truth, her subconscious mind opens up and she is more likely to be receptive and open to allowing the stimulation. Because I say that there is a bell curve when it comes to orgasm for women. 20% of them will orgasm within the first 20 minutes. 50% by 30 minutes, and almost 90% by 1 hour.
Welcome to the Peptides and Longevity podcast. Each week, we'll dive into groundbreaking science, innovative therapies, and the future of health and longevity. Alongside visionary physicians and experts, we'll explore how peptides, cutting-edge medicine, and lifestyle strategies can redefine the way we age. Get ready to transform your health, optimize your vitality, and unlock the secrets to a longer, healthier life. Let's get started.
Hi, it's Dr. Kent Holtorf with another episode, and today we'll be interviewing Dr. Nick Delgado, which I promise should be one of the funnest interviews, as well as educational. Well, the title today is Sex, and More Sex, Feel Young Forever. So we should have some fun, and again, but still getting down to some serious science. And Dr. Nick's going to tell us how to live long, have great sex forever, and actually have just great quality life. So a little bit about Nick. He's an expert in anti-aging, peptides, lifestyle medicine, and the immune system for over 43 years, which is amazing. He looks amazing. He's trained doctors in blood hematology, which he taught me, which is pretty amazing. Lipid metabolism, peak performance. I won't hold this against him, but he is a USC graduate and Loma Linda University. Major contributing author to the Encyclopedia of Clinical Anti-Aging Medicine and Regenerative Biomedical Technologies, as a medical correspondent to 26,000 physicians and scientists for the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, which is A4M. He's the personal health coach for Tony Robbins, Master University, for several years. He is a strength endurance world record holder. Pretty amazing. Now in his late 60s, really. Guiding Aleve. And with elite athletes and the UFC, NFL, golfers, as well as corporate wellness at TRW Aerospace, increased productivity and quality of life. And I'd like to talk to him a little about that, like the, kind of the basically similarities between a CEO and a professional athlete. And it is getting so scientific now, because the difference between professional athlete making it, or having morning track power versus, make the big leagues is minute. Delgado protocol for health has been awarded several honors, certificate of congressional recognition as best health product. And that's been around. I know a lot of people have benefited from that. Ed Royce, member of Congress 40th District. Newest brand built for the immune system and achieve hormonal balance is at docnutrients.com, DOC nutrients.com. He's got a number of books out, and I'm a little disturbed that one was basically asked to be changed by Amazon because it mentioned COVID, which is scary. But it's on Amazon, called Blood Doesn't Lie. He had changed the title because he tells the truth. So it's a little scary. Author of Simply Healthy, plant-based cookbook. And then my favorite, Mastering Love, Sex, and Intimacy. And I understood the sex part, the love and intimacy part. I don't know, it just kind of threw me there. But and then Acne Be Gone for Good. He's just kind of a master in just many different areas. That was co-written with Sonia Bensal, MD, who's a dermatologist. iTunes, webinar, podcast, broadcast. He's all over the place and just has tons of webinars. I suggest you look him up and just a wide range of topics. It exceeds over 1.4 million views. He's down in Costa Mesa, California. And his website is nickdelgado.com. Nick, DELGADO.com. Well, welcome. Thank you for doing the summit. You're making me laugh already, and we've had a fun conversation even before. I think it's going to be a great interview as well as educational. And so let's get right into it. And I know you have a PowerPoint, which kind of to drive across your point. And how do we have good sex?
I think it begins with communication. You know, one of the things that
you lost me already.
well, you know, men don't often talk to each other about the subject of sex, and if they do, it's just kind of a cursory discussion. Women tend to get into a lot of detail, and oftentimes this is a fact that we know, and I cited it in my book, Mastering Love, Sex, and Intimacy, and that is that 95% of men feel that they are good lovers. In fact, great lovers.
I know I'm not, though.
Well, 85% of women say that they haven't ever achieved an orgasm with their significant other, their partner. So I find it hard to believe that they're great lovers if they don't know how to please their woman. So more than 36 years ago, I started this project to write this book, literally, and I wrote several other books before I released this book on Valentine's Day, and partly because I felt like I questioned my own theories. I said, this can't be. Can people literally be having that much challenges in the bedroom? And after going through all the literature and the science and presenting several talks, I was convinced that this topic needed to be addressed, and in great detail.
Let me ask you, because my sense is that the guys who say they're so great are probably not. And the same thing with kind of people pretend they have the best marriage ever. They never fight. They never, are just, basically more concerned about perception than true happiness and great communication and marriage and all that.
Well, there was a Scientific American video that came out on YouTube this last year, and it was interesting because they went through the science and the literature about Freud and how he believed that on his deathbed that he had made a serious mistake. He said he does not understand women. He basically had purported a lot of information, Freudian type concepts. And the biggest problem was when Kinsey report came out, Alfred Kinsey, the famous sex researcher at Indiana University, he actually went through the literature, and they commissioned 4 gynecologists to examine 900 women with a probe to probe the sensitive areas of the female. And they found there was...
weekend.
Right, it was a fun weekend. And they found that there was 0 of pleasure nerves in the vagina. So every man who's been led to believe that all the comments about being able to maintain that erection lasts for more than the average 4 minutes, which, by the way, men enter a woman in 4 minutes is the net average that they average, that they sustain.
Really?
Yes. But here's the surprising shock. And that is that no matter how long you last, it's very unlikely that you're going to please that woman, because anatomically the male organ will not bend to reach up to the G-spot, which is the end of the clitoris. And of course the clitoris is at the top of the entrance to the vagina, and it's really
where's that thing? I think it's mythical.
Well, it's the little man in the boat. It's at the top.
They say it's there. I don't know if I can never find it now.
Right. And then some women will complain that they have overly sensitive clitoris during times of the month. So many men do not know how to touch the clitoris or approach the erogenous zones. There's 12 erogenous zones in women, and there's 3 different types of climaxes a woman can achieve: a clitoral orgasm, a G-spot orgasm, and also a cervical orgasm. Very few people talk about a cervical orgasm. It's difficult to reach, but I can describe it if you prompt me to talk about it. But you know, when we
All right,
talk,
can you tell us what it is?
actually, it's deep enough in that I read a book that was printed out of Germany, and it was titled Fisting. And I'm like, what's this about? It's in a sex shop, right? And essentially, you put enough lubrication on the hand to have the woman relax her muscles enough and trust you enough. And remember, a whole baby's head could
Trust
come.
is huge, right?
What's that?
Trust is a big part of the whole thing.
Huge, absolutely huge. Communication, trust, and being able to sincerely direct a man where the woman's erogenous zones are. And it's been shown statistically that young women are better at guiding a man's head if he's doing oral sex to the areas that she gets the most pleasure. They're more likely to be outspoken. As women get a little older, they've either been rebuffed so many times by men saying, that you don't know what you want. How can a woman tell, you know, how can a guy be insensitive enough to not hear that you're not touching or feeling, you know, getting her to the pleasure point? So, and
Yeah,
also,
but don't a lot of women expect a guy to know what
yes,
to do, so they don't say anything? And
true.
we don't know,
Yeah, if you don't know, good luck.
you
And
know,
90
and,
and 80% of guys don't know.
but they think they know.
They think they know.
Yeah.
And
So
herein
now,
lies the problem.
yeah. So just back to the cervical, I thought it was more painful if you hit the cervix and that, but you're saying it doesn't have to be, I guess.
Correct. So obviously a woman should be lubricated enough. Should be excited enough. Hopefully she's already achieved a clitoral orgasm through oral sex or a vibrator, which, by the way, I'm a big advocate. And although John Gray, my good friend who endorsed my book, Mastering Love, Sex, and Intimacy, is not an advocate of using a vibrator in the
Oh,
bedroom,
really?
I think it's appropriate and necessary, particularly for a doctor who comes home late at night. He's been working hard under a lot of stress, and maybe he doesn't have the energy to go down on his
I'm
late.
lazy, man.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it may be that he has her get on all fours, hold the vibrator underneath on her clitoris where she likes it, and he enters her from behind. So he's getting his pleasure and she's getting her pleasure. And simultaneously, they can reach orgasm. So if you're following with me,
Don't you find this though with men? A lot of men are like basically, I don't think they're comfortable enough, and like I should be good enough. I'm not going to use the vibrator. Shouldn't have to use a vibrator. I'm good enough. I don't think that's true. I think it's like it enhances a couple. It's not like, oh, I don't want you. I got a vibrator, which may happen sometimes, but like it's good for couples, right?
it's great. And men are very insecure, and they are for good reason,
Yeah.
because women have essentially, they are insatiable based on humanity and genetics and the origin of man and woman. They needed to be insatiable to the point where in primitive times, actually we see this in gorillas and monkeys and so forth. Several males will line up when a female monkey's in heat, and 10 of them will make love to her. And the one that ejaculates the most is the alpha male and will usually impregnate her. But usually they are insatiable. Women
Oh
are
yeah, they got
insatiable creatures.
multiple.
Yeah.
And some can have babies from multiple fathers.
Yeah.
And but I've also heard is that the female body or ovary will accept certain sperm, and then but certain sperm also have all these like defense mechanisms. They'll kill the other one, and so it's like a battle in there.
Exactly, exactly. So, you know, I think that men became intimidated because women do have a profound sexual power, and generally, obviously, they have the right to decide who enters them or not. And so, what's
Yeah,
quite
that's
disarming,
evolutionarily.
yeah,
Yeah.
And and they have a checklist. It takes 20 minutes at least for a woman to be aroused and brought around through auditory, through compliments, through innuendo, through fantasy. And women love fantasy books. They love romantic novels, right? There's a reason, because a lot's going on in their mind.
All right, so you're diving deep into peptides and longevity on this podcast, and we're right there with you. Integrative Peptides stands out, trusted by over 10,000 doctors to deliver real results for their patients. These premium peptides are your key to unlocking vitality, recovery, and a longer, stronger life. Visit integrativepeptides.com and use the code PODLIFE for 10% off your first order. Again, integrativepeptides.com. Use the code PODLIFE for 10% off. It's time to elevate your journey, starting now.
So why don't, in general, women like basically take those fantasy books? I guess it's like 9.5 weeks, 1.5 weeks, 50 Shades of Grey,
Right.
which it's like, oh my God, became so huge, right?
Exactly.
It's like, oh my God, they're living out the fantasy.
Yep.
But I mean, they love this stuff, but I think they're scared to mention it.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna look bad. I'm look like a slut or whatever it may be,
Yeah. There again, it really gets down to being able to communicate the way we are now, because a woman, when she hears the truth, her subconscious mind opens up and she is more likely to be receptive and open to allowing the stimulation. Because I say that there is a bell curve when it comes to orgasm for women. 20% of them will orgasm within the first 20 minutes. 50% by 30 minutes, and almost 90% by 1 hour. And
But you just said the average is 4 minutes.
well, yes, but see, it should not all be in intercourse. Intercourse is not the main course. There was a great book written, and I applaud it. It was titled "She Comes First." And it was basically the premise that through oral sex or a vibrator or watching the woman masturbate herself to see how she likes it. But all of those techniques should be utilized leading up to the man entering her at the end of the hour, because the woman should have 1, 2, 3, or 4 orgasms. And then at that point, she'll be receptive to you. And
So also intercourse is the dessert.
yes, for the man ultimately, and the woman feels, cozy and loved.
Do you watch ESPN during this?
Some of them do, but I think that would be a problem, because we do need to be more present. And I've seen some couples, or I should say, I've known of couples who are on their phone while they're having sex. And
No, that's kind of the way. But no, because this is serious. Because
yes,
it's, I think so many marriages are sexless.
yes,
Right? And I think
yes,
way more like, oh, they're married for so many years and they don't say it, but they don't have sex. Something's missing. And it's this huge communication gap where
correct.
what you're just saying, how many couples does the woman basically say, okay, do this, or, have this an hour of foreplay and then have intercourse? My sense is that guy goes, oh, we went out, we're drinking, let's have intercourse. Okay, good night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then he rolls over, because when oxytocin releases during orgasm, it's an estrogen-like molecule, and the man has this tendency to want to fall asleep. Where a woman, when she has orgasm, she wants to talk because she's used to estrogen, and it gets her very talkative and excited.
That's when you put the elbow out.
Exactly. So I do that.
I'm joking all the time, but
No, it's okay. Jokes
stuff.
are fun.
Yeah, this is serious stuff, because I think you can save some marriages and make some much more satisfying marriages, because it's a big part,
Yeah.
and it's both sides. I think the guy is closed-minded, like, hey, I'm good now, I'm the man, and the woman doesn't want to say anything what she really wants, because it's going to hurt his ego, like, hey, but let me warm up first. But it'd be great if the guy warms her up, right?
Yes. Yes. And you'd be surprised that when a woman is given license to enjoy fantasy. It doesn't have to have, and by the way, the standard fantasy for men is always, oh, honey, I want to bring another woman in. Well, wait a minute. Are you so intimidated that the thought might cross your mind that maybe she might want another hot man? And would that fantasy excite her more so? And in my polling of women, I find that to be the case. So,
I think you're right.
and at the same time, it's intimidating for men because men feel insecure. They go, oh, well, what if he's a better lover than me? Well, maybe you can learn from the other guy. I mean, and by the way, it's fantasy. And you know, I'm not advocating that people run out and learn how to become a swinger and all these things, because there are a percentage of people who are comfortable with that. But you can fantasize and actually bring that romantic novel into her mind by using certain chosen words as you test them out. It's like bantering back and forth with innuendo. You find out you don't want to use the word she's a bee because it may be a turnoff. It's a hurtful word to a woman. But you might say, hey, you're so beautiful. You have sexy lips, your beautiful eyes, and give true compliments. Don't make fake compliments. There's always something, a reason you're with this woman. So search out and she'll know that you're sincere, and she'll detect it from your voice, your tonality. So always include the love languages and include visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and acts of service. Women appreciate this, and men do too. So it's a two-way street. And where your woman might be telling you and she's saying, please talk to me. And when she's using predicates like, I want to hear what you have to say about this, she's a very auditory woman. And you need to address that during your lovemaking. If she's saying, I want a gift, I want to go out on the town, please dress up, then she's probably visual. She's very into the look. And so you shouldn't show up all grubby and from the yard, you know, with dirt on your hands, a mechanic. You need to clean up and present yourself as such so she feels attracted. Like that first date. That first date, you probably did everything and then you forgot about it as you went along.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I think too, one problem though is, so all of a sudden a fantasy into reality doesn't turn out well because it's never,
oftentimes it doesn't,
like it's fantasy. So it sounds like you're
and
saying
mainly because the men are intimidated.
is to make the fantasy basically with you two, like, you know, with the couple.
Yeah. And, you know, I think it's important to bring forth the word unconditional love and to understand that there are 6 human needs as well. There's the need for security, consistency. You know, you got a roof over your house, you've got food, but also in lovemaking, that security becomes boredom. So the second need besides certainty is uncertainty, variety, change it up, not just change positions of how you're making love, because changing positions is only good for the guy. The woman is literally feeling nothing unless in some rare percentages, a woman, almost like a gymnast, can be put her legs up over her head and angled. And I've observed in the literature, you could hit that G spot at the right angle. It is possible, but it's a very small percentage, like less than 5%. Let's put it at that. So women will argue, yes, I can get a vaginal orgasm. Well, you're really penetrating in a position that's hitting the G spot.
So what do you do about that?
To achieve that, it's very unlikely. So just assume you're not going to hit that. So what you do is you lay her back with her legs back, and when you push your finger in, you push your finger up to your knuckles as far as you can reach, and you rub on top of a soft area, and you rub kind of she'll almost feel like she's got a pee. Say, okay, honey, go up and go use the restroom. She'll find she doesn't need to use the restroom. And if she relaxes enough, that continual rubbing of that, what we call the G spot, which is the end of the clitoris, actually denotes into a nice, fulfilling orgasm that lasts longer than a clitoral orgasm.
Interesting. And I mentioned that it seems like where fantasy to reality doesn't work, and you mentioned it's because of insecurities, right?
Yes.
And you're saying more of the guy insecurity than it is.
Definitely. Some women get jealous, but generally speaking, you know, they'll get jealous if a hot woman comes in and it's your fantasy. You have a threesome of, you know, whatever, and you're talking to her about a hot girl coming in, and she's thinking, dude, I'm turned off by what you're saying. You know, change the dialogue.
Yeah. And you're just paying attention to that one. Yeah. The other person. And then, but if another guy is in the room,
Uh-huh.
like,
or in your mind is in the room.
it's, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think about that. Like, is it really because I'm intimidated, or I don't, man, I don't know. If something like, let's just say, she's like, oh my God, that's what I want. Okay, I'll think about it, but I don't know.
I
Wait, yeah, exactly. Oh, wait,
already got you thinking. That's
yeah,
good.
yeah. Wait, what type of guy is this? Is he good looking? Yeah. No, that's really interesting because I think it's a huge problem that no one talks about.
No one does. And I would go further. This is where peptides and trimix and we use Amore. I mean, some guys use Viagra, Levitra. This is where human growth hormone and PT141, you get to be an artist to know how to time. You want to time it so that she's reached this full
Just so
pleasure.
the listeners know, we'll go back and explain all these things.
Yeah. So you want to get it to where you've figured out how to bring her at the most aroused state where she, and here's a common mistake, by the way. Guys will enter a woman with her intercourse and she's, or no, let me start over. They'll start doing oral sex. She's getting literally, truly excited, but she hasn't peaked and gone up and over. But there's only one way to know if a woman's orgasm or not. And no one ever talks about this in the literature either. And if you want and prompt me, I'll tell you the only way you can determine this. But the reality is that she'll just about reach climax and then they'll stop doing the stimulation that's about to help her reach climax, i.e., oral sex or vibrator, and they'll enter her thinking, oh, now she's really ready. Now she's going to come. Well, you just shut off all of her stimulation. Now she went from a 90 approaching 100 for orgasm, and she went to 0. And you've entered her, and now all her pleasure's done, and you just got done excited and everything because she was excited, and now it's all over. Thank you, wham, bam, thank you, man. It's done.
Yeah.
It's a big turnoff for women. And a woman would rather buy chocolate or go shopping than have sex with their significant other because they know that's what the outcome's always going to be.
It's like, yeah, what are you out of that? But it goes back to the communication saying, look, this ain't working for me.
I was,
this is what I want.
Exactly. And I got to thank my first wife. She, 5 years after I was with her, and I thought I was a stud, and I'll be very personal, I was making love to her 3 to 6 times a day. I'd get hard. I'd last as long as you can imagine. I read the book.
Wait, did you work?
Well, listen, yeah, but The Joy of Sex, I read that book and it was talking about different angles and positions and staying hard, and that was the way to do it. And they totally ignored Alfred Kinsey's original work that I referred to in the beginning, that women have no nerve endings in their vagina. And really, my wife at that time just said, God, I'm just worn out. I mean, yeah, she said, I'm worn out. I mean, literally, I'm worn. I mean, I'm, I can't maintain lubrication this whole time. And it starts to hurt, after a while. And she finally told me after 5 years, you're a lousy lover. And I'm like, right. And it hit hard because I thought I was doing everything possible to be a great lover.
That's, yeah, like someone said, oh, yeah, that's so bad. But you said, can you have said it earlier, maybe?
Exactly.
And,
I felt bad. I felt humiliated. I felt embarrassed. I felt betrayed. But you know what? It was my own insecurity, my own issue. And I now take responsibility. I read books then. Like I'm a good medical researcher, as you know. And so I delved deep. I read books by females pleasing other women. I read every book you could imagine. I have a bookshelf that behind me is like extensive on all topics you can imagine. I read probably a book every other day. And I also listen to podcast books on Kindle. But the point is, when I wrote
time for that, I got to ask you how you do it. But yeah.
I'm pretty good with time management. I mean, I have a phenomenal energy level. So I follow by the rule, get to bed as early as possible, sundown and sunrise, wake up, refreshed. But when you're on a date, it's usually, when you're in normal dating world, you go out on a date towards 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night. So that's the other thing. You need to understand peptides and hormones and supplements to really time that as well. Because otherwise, guys wake up in the morning with an erection. That's when they, from a primitive standpoint, we're designed to have sex and make love. But it's harder to get that, quote, erection or hard at night because your hormones are at their lowest at night. So you've got to.
Is it true that I've been told that women know if they're going to sleep with a guy within like 5 minutes or something like that.
I would say that's probably true. You know, if you've ever been to speed dating, I think it's 5 or 8 minutes. You sit down, and within literally 5 to 8 minutes, you know whether you want to make love to that person or not.
Yeah.
They did a study, and they separated the people by a glass separator, so they couldn't smell the other person in
That's
case
just wondering if
pheromones.
smells are so powerful.
Right, but they separated with a glass window, and they had them walk in and look at the other person. They said, after you see them, write down whatever comes to your mind. And shockingly and surprisingly, some wrote down love at first sight. And what they found out, they drew blood, and they found out there was this huge rise in PEA, phenylethylalanine, which is a hormone that's released by the brain when you see someone you're highly attracted to from a genetic perspective. And so what it didn't say in the study was whether the man and the woman both had love at first sight at the same time when they saw that person.
Yeah. Now, with that said, have you found giving PEA makes a difference?
It's interesting from a perspective of as a, if you will, a pheromone. And, you know, it's interesting in the corporate world, they know that if you give a pheromone to a woman to attract another man, it's really the women that give them compliments about their perfume. So they actually use a trick on women. They use the pheromone that's pertinent to attracting other women, which is
women buy great purses for other women.
Yes,
Because
yes.
men don't know.
Right. So I found out that basically DHEA is the precursor to most pheromones. And as guys get older, and women, our ability to produce pheromones that attract, you know, like in other animals, from miles away. And there truly is an attraction. I mean, I created a cream that is called testrogenin. And when you rub it under the scrotum in the perineum area, or just around the neck area where there's a lot of blood vessels, which, as you know, that's the better absorption area. You don't want to rub cream on a fat area.
Scrotum neck.
Yeah. So what I found was I literally was corresponding with some female friends of mine who happened to be doctors. And I remember one incident where a female doctor was walking around the room, and then she came and sat right next to me. And I knew her for years. And she goes, "What are you doing? What are you wearing?" And I go, "Oh, what do you mean?" She goes, "I don't know what it is, but you're the only person I'm attracted to in this whole room. And you're doing something, aren't you?" And I looked at her, I said, "Yeah, kind of." I said, "I'm using a very potent derivative of a pheromone, and you're feeling like you want to jump on my bones, aren't you?" And she said, "Yes."
Like, give me some of that. Unless you watch The Twilight Zone on the Love Potion, you know.
I missed that episode. You got to tell me.
Well, yeah, so the guy, this girl, the young girl wants her to, he loves her, but she doesn't want him. He pays $1 million for his love potion, and it's $1. No, I'm sorry, he pays $1 for a love potion to the scientist. And then he can't stand it. She's all over him, just loves him so much. And he goes, "I can't take it." Goes back to the scientist. He goes, "Well, how much is the reversal?" $1 million. You know, so you got to watch out what you ask for. But yeah, that's way off the subject.
No, that's great.
I think you have a slide deck. Well, why don't we go to that?
When we're talking about immortal peptides, I have a belief, Dr. Kent Holtorf, that the very peptides that lead to better sex and attraction also are the very hormones that are important for longevity.
Wait, doesn't that make sense, though, evolutionarily, that the female picks the most virile, toughest male, right? The males fight whoever wins. So it's health equals sexy.
Yes, absolutely. Without a doubt. Alpha males, except in today's current society, a lot of alpha males are bashed.
Yeah.
But some of the alpha males don't conduct themselves very well. You know, they're communicating in a way that may be less than smart.
Grunts and
Right. So, but you know, regardless of the status of Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and you think about when when you do a YouTube search, he had gynecomastia surgery because he uses so much, shall we say, testosterone, it converts into estrogen. And I don't know his personal medical file, but I would.
Dumb. He should know that.
He should know that. But there also are better, elegant aromatase inhibitors, namely DIM, indole 3-carbinol. We use a product we call Ester Block that works incredibly well, and Live Detox, because turmeric also, along with cypress and astragalus, tends to detoxify and reduce the conversion of testosterone and estrogen. So that's the first part of the puzzle. You want to get that strong, firm erection, you want to be able to sustain a good, strong level of testosterone and help to not just reduce the estradiol, because most doctors only measure E1, E2, E3, right? Estradiol, estriol, and estrione. They don't think to measure the downstream estrogen metabolites, which are far more potent and exert a much more either
Well, that's
harmful or beneficial effect.
it's like all these pesticides and plastics are
Yep.
all estrogenic, and that's what, like, yeah, I'll check in men and women, like estradiol, but then you check total estrogen, which takes everything. They're like, it's off the chart. And they have fish now that there's no more males. And if you look at the reference ranges for testosterone for men each decade, because they take 95% of the people and call them normal, the average testosterone level is dropping, right? And we
Right.
have, like, I'm sure you've seen it. It's like 25-year-olds coming in with testosterone level of a 90-year-old, and it's called normal.
It's really troubling, and it could be too, as you mentioned, in the water runoff. In the runoff, it turns out that the excretion of feces from pork, cattle, and chickens ends up in the water table and ultimately in the food supply. And it turns out 10 to the 6, there is somewhere between approaching 1,000,000 times more estrogen concentration in our environment now than there's ever been. I'm actually working on my next book on estrogen, the male and female toxin, and that book will be coming out in a few months. But
Well,
I've
it's
been
it's huge because
it's
it's
a huge
making
problem, right?
men, women, and also men, like, they're healthier with high testosterone, and then increasing estrogen in girls. So breast cancer, they're starting their periods, menses, when so young now, developing so quickly. It's a
Yep.
problem.
Correct. In the turn of the century, Japan, the menstrual cycles, it was shown, would not start till age 19, 20, or 21. Now it's
Oh my
very
gosh.
typical 12, 13, 14, and the girl is menstruating, right? And so, and then the menstrual cycle lasts longer because of the sustained high hormonal environmental factors. So I'm kind of an advocate of plant-based, oil-free, sugar-free eating, partly because we would reduce our estrogen exposure tremendously, not just in the environmental factors, but even consuming, because when you eat an animal, it has estrous cycles. Pork, chicken, and beef, they all have a high concentration of estrogens. Estrone sulfate in milk was shown by a Harvard study to be 33 times higher in milk than in, say, almond milk or coconut milk. So I think we have to learn to detoxify these harmful estrogens
Yeah.
to be sexy as we age.
And there's, it depends on, estrogen A or B. One stimulates, one's for, like, estriol, which the FDA is trying to ban. Basically stops proliferation of breast tissue, where estradiol is about 50-50. And, or you look at, people think progesterone, they're told by their OB, oh, the same thing. It got approved because they do the same thing in the uterus and stop proliferation, but they have the opposite effects in the breast.
True.
Progestins stimulate breast tissue. Progesterone is the best way to prevent breast cancer. So if you want to get breast cancer, take progestin, synthetic Prempro. It's in birth control pills. If you want to prevent, take progesterone.
You brought up a good point. Birth control pills are synthetic. And I've spoken to a number of OBGYNs and hormone expert female physicians as well. And they've stated you could make a birth control that was bioidentical and it'd be safer and healthier, but they don't want to take the liability of a lawsuit if someone gets pregnant. So
You have to do such high dose. Yeah.
yeah, but it could be done. But you and I know all these incredible number of women that are put on birth control pills. And ironically, these poor women, also many of them are put on, they have acne. I wrote a book, Acne Be Gone for Good. And one of the go-to off-label uses of birth control pills
Yeah.
is birth control pills. And imagine the side effects and the risk of stroke and blood
Yeah,
clotting.
and you get exactly. And so many people have coagulation defects when we're doing more genetics now, and also anyone with chronic infections. It's just immune activation of coagulation, and it's bad news. But it's strange. Certain things are acceptable, like someone can die from prescription medication, no big deal. If we hurt someone with a supplement or something, like, oh my God, it's like, we'll lose our license. So it's interesting. But we'll go ahead and do the slides.
Yeah. So I think if we're talking about that timing issue, right? Human growth hormone should not be really called growth. I think it should be called human rejuvenation hormone. And Arnold Schwarzenegger knew about this. And in those days, it was legal. It wasn't illegal to take testosterone and growth hormone when you were a bodybuilder, because there was no, sports regulations and, abuse by athletes, if you will. But it clearly fills out the muscle density. And I think that even more exciting is these peptides. And I, I, I think that it's appropriate to consider that you could use both peptides and human growth hormone, but human growth hormone is a little harder to get prescribed. I know recently there's been some new changes, but those laws seem to kind of fluctuate, right? But I think it's okay if if your physician finds, and we don't have to document it with the kind of tests we used to have to document. We can just say there's a human growth hormone deficiency,
Right,
and
you can't use it. It's the only drug you can't give for off label. But I did a review on growth hormone. There's never
Mhm.
been a case of giving growth hormone causing cancer. But its name, it's a growth hormone, it's going to cause cancer, but really it's because performance enhancing, it just got, bad associated with bodybuilders and that stuff. But
Right, right.
yeah.
And they use so much that their forehead would get
Oh, it's
large.
amazing. But I don't know
Right,
anyone rich enough except for Barry Bonds. Uh,
right, right.
yeah.
Yeah. But I contributed a chapter to Grow Young with HGH, their revised edition that went out as an ebook. And I did a lot of research on it. So I'm very comfortable with the use and application, but to physiologic healthy levels, not to abnormal excessive levels. I sustain my levels between, say, around 300, 350. I have had readings as high as 600. Um, and I know to back off. I don't need to go that high. When you're a young teenager and a young adult, and you're at your most youthful level, those are the levels. And just like with
Yeah.
testosterone, I use bioidentical pellets, right? And it's easy to bring a level up to about, say, a 900 to 1500, which is my 27-year-old son, who's also a UFC, that is a jiu-jitsu MMA fighter.
Really?
He walks around with a level of 1500, to 1800 naturally, nothing enhanced. So
And
we know that
yeah,
youth
and
levels.
let me ask you too, because they say, okay, it's normal to have lower testosterone, say lower the reference range as you get older, but also older people, they have testosterone resistance, and so you can argue that it should be higher, right? It's like
Right.
saying, well, this is normal, well, so is cancer and heart disease, and like I've had a number of guys come in, like, older men, they got erectile dysfunction, they got
Yep.
that grumpy old man syndrome, and their testosterone's like 800. Like, oh, that's great. Well, let's give a test trial of testosterone. And you bring it up like, oh my God, my life's changed.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, Abraham Morgentaler, who obviously wrote the book Testosterone for Life, he's a Harvard professor, and he did a thorough literature search, which the big concern was, okay, if you augment someone with testosterone, you're going to cause prostate cancer. And he found nowhere in the literature to support that. If
Yeah,
anything, Suzuki published in
the
Japan
opposite.
high estrogen levels causing an increased risk of prostate cancer in the prostate. And so DHT and testosterone nourishes the prostate, provided, and I'll go further to say, I believe it's still appropriate to do what Dr. Joel Furman talks about, G bombs, which is greens, berries, mushrooms, onions, and nuts and seeds, and the use of beans. So a variety of whole natural foods is grown. You'll get actually a higher total testosterone, but you don't have as much free testosterone. And that's where we use a product, Testro Plus, because it has the herbs that bind to the sex hormone binding globulin. Because in plant-based people, they tend to have higher sex hormone binding globulin. But you want to release that free bioavailable testosterone to get that good, harder erection. And you also want to maintain better youthful growth hormone levels. So I agree with you. The youthful levels I published in my first book, Growing and Slim, that's now available as an ebook. I reprinted some of those conversations in my book, Mastering Love, Sex, and Intimacy, because to have good sex, your skin, your muscles, your body should look more youthful. So keep in mind the immortal peptides, as we mentioned, those who maintain a healthy sexual ability and interest in sex, an early proclivity or that fascination with lovemaking and sex, and maintain it throughout their lifetime, tend to live longer. Most centenarians, if you poll them and you find out, and there's been research on this, those who reach the age of 100 plus have had a very rich, full sex life. And it could be the hormone levels were arguably higher than those who did not sustain their sex life. And there's been some evidence to this. In Japan, Okinawa, some of the longest lived people, they have 30% higher testosterone, DHEA levels than a 70-year-old in our culture. So literally their 100-year-old is healthier from a testosterone and hormonal perspective than our men in our culture and women age 70. So these hormones are, shall we say, very important. And so one of my favorites as a peptide is PT141. It's a derivative of melanocytes, and the early version would make you, if you will, if you took as subcutaneous injection of the skin, it was discovered in Australia that it helped people who were very white to prevent from sunburn, and it was helpful. And then they were finding out, wow, we're getting erections. And they go, wow, that's a nice side effect. So they isolated the particular portion of that hormone to this amino acid chain specific to PT141 is what they named it. And it has a nice benefit, almost hitting more of the fantasy part of the brain. It's different than, say, a man who's experienced Viagra or Cialis, or in our case, we use a Mori product, which inhibits PD5, an enzyme that gobbles up nitric oxide. So everyone who now understands the benefit of PT141, it kind of engages that part of the brain that is accustomed to fantasy. And so you have to time it about 4 hours before, in my experience. Use 10 to 20 units on the insulin needle, 32 gauge, so it's 31 gauge, so it's very easy to insert a little bit of the liquid in there, and you time it almost about 4 hours, and 3.5, 4 hours, and you notice that when you're engaging with your significant other, that erection comes up full and hard. You'll just notice your skin gets a little tanner if you use it too often. And if you don't mind being a little tanner, it's a good look. During the winter, you're tan.
So, and it works on the brain, not on the vasculature of the penis, like Viagra. And I find it works, like, I don't know, close to 100% of the time.
Yep.
For men, it just got approved for women at a higher dose.
Yep.
Biggest side effect is nausea, which tends to go away. But it's interesting molecule. I think it can enhance a lot of people's life in general, you know?
I think it's amazing, and I think it's worth trying it out. And even if you're already using some other augmentation, as I mentioned, if you're using a PD5 inhibitor and you're also augmenting your testosterone to be its ideal level, and you're helping to clear out the harmful excess estrogens, and you also have good human growth hormone levels, IGF-1, all of those things are appropriate and necessary. Then add in PT141 and you'll feel like a rock star. You're going to be like, okay, now I know what a porn star experiences. Right. If you talk to porn stars, they use usually trimix, the injection directly into the male organ. And a lot of guys are uncomfortable with that. The idea of injecting their male organ, you know, you can do it. It's easy, a small insulin needle, but you know, it's nice when you can do it this way. It feels a lot more natural.
It's not sexy. And
it's not sexy.
I would be careful using it with, I don't think you want to use it with any Viagra or Cialis, like,
because the PT141.
Yeah, because it works, and
yes,
you can get a long erection. But it's interesting, like, you know, though. So the big concern is priapism, where erection lasts for, you know, over 5 hours and basically no blood flow. But my sense is that it allows blood flow. So even if the erection lasts longer, I don't know, I don't want to say for sure, that you have the risk of like basically, crossing off your penis like you can with Viagra, where the blood flow is just stuck in there.
Right.
Because I don't think people get pain after even
No.
hours, which you would have if you had a Cialis or Viagra erection for 24 hours. So it works very differently. Yes.
Yes. And I would go further to say that the likelihood of an erection that will not disappear is typically more common to trimix injected directly into the penis, because if you overshoot the dose, you're going to have an erection for 2, 3, 4 hours or longer, and it's uncomfortable.
And it just sticks the blood in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
Yeah. So PT-141 is elegant, it's effective, it's fun. And it actually, the orgasmic experience is, if you're to rate it as amongst quality of pleasure, it's right up there amongst the top. It's,
let me ask you, with women, I mean, it's
yeah.
available now as a prescription. I don't know how much it is. It's not, that's crazy amount, but you can get it compounded. For women, what's your sense and the effectiveness and satisfaction using it for women?
Well, keep in mind, women do achieve a clitoral erection, and you're still back to square one if a man knows how to stimulate without irritating the clitoris. And if he's, again, comfortable in the bedroom with bringing the appropriate type of vibrator, because there's various degrees of the strength of vibrator, low, usually they have 2 switches, low or high. So, again, I've noticed that there's a variety. When you poll women, they love the magic wand. There's certain vibrators that work better than others. So in terms of the arousal disorder for women and using PT-141, I think it's a nice addition. It just makes it easier for them to achieve the orgasm. And furthermore, instead of that bell curve of, as I mentioned, from up to 1 hour, you're probably cutting that bell curve to half. Plus, when they do achieve orgasm, it's much more intense.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, we need all the help we can get.
That's Cactus Pete there. He thinks he's got it all handled and figured out. And keep in mind, when guys think they can just get that big, hard erection, it's satisfying to a guy, as you know, when the blood is filled and it's a natural erection and it feels, like when you were a teenager or whatever. But, if you think you're going to please your lady with just intercourse, even if you've warmed her up ahead of time, if you will, always think of intercourse as the dessert and not the main play, the main course. Always.
Right
always.
there, telling guys that, they're going to go, what you talking about,
Well, we're talking about allowing.
I think it's profound. Yeah.
It's huge. It's huge, right? And so, back to that statistic, 95% of men feel that they're great lovers, whereas 85% of women will admit, and it's probably higher percent, that they haven't achieved orgasm during their encounter. There is one way I alluded to know if a woman has achieved orgasm, and it's not their face gets red flushed, their nipples get erect, they get vaginal lubrication. All of those are en route to achieving stimulation and pleasure. But a true orgasm, there is only one way to know. You know what that is?
Dude, I'm lost in that whole area. I have no idea.
Okay. Well, since women have 12 erogenous zones,
which at some point, just go through those real quick.
They're mostly more towards the surface. There's different points that I describe in my book, Mastering Love, Sex, and Intimacy, these different pleasure points, but most of them are more surface, not deep in, with the exception of the G-spot and the cervical orgasm.
Sounds like a lot of work,
though. Just think of doing around the world stimulation with a vibrator or your tongue. If you're germophobic, you're maybe not going to do the tongue, so just take a shower together first, get in a hot tub first, whatever makes it work for you.
So
or if you want to,
and chocolate doesn't do it.
Yeah, if you want to use a dental dam and you're freaking out about, transmission, okay, do it. But the point is, it's that stimulation needs to be correct and appropriate enough to bring that woman up to arousal. And if you take your little finger on your other hand and touch the external part, if she's aroused enough, she won't even notice, and you touch it to her anus, when she achieves orgasm, not just the rapid panting, the big act, her anal sphincter will be contracting very rapidly.
Or
And
what?
and her anal sphincter will be contracting very rapidly at the peak of orgasm. And she won't be able to fake that because it is an
All right,
automatic
I know
response.
now. I'm checking.
You better check.
All right, stop faking it.
No more faking in the bedroom. Now that women know, we're on to them.
All right, we know now.
It's the
Fake it
moment of
now.
truth in the bedroom. And you'll be surprised that now that women know, and oftentimes I share a copy of my book with,
Now you know that we know.
then what happens is there's more communication in the bedroom or prior to the
What's
bedroom.
needed, right?
Yes. Let's cut through the,
Yeah, and instead of big egos and
Yep.
worried about what someone's gonna think, like you want to be happy, you want to be satisfied.
love, pleasure,
Your
happiness.
partner wants to satisfy you.
Yeah,
So
men
what's
truly
the
do.
problem?
Yeah, men truly do want to satisfy their partner, their female partner, if you will. But women have been conditioned
Yeah, it's
from,
societal, like, oh, you can't enjoy sex, right? It's like,
or not only that, there's a number of men, if they've dated or been prior married. I've interviewed married couples that the woman never achieved orgasm in 10 years, even up to 20 years. And so they kind of hid that. And so that's why there's sexless marriages. There's only, if you look at the average encounter of sexual frequency in the marriage, it starts off maybe five times a week, then it drops to one time a week, then one time a month, and then essentially, once in a while they have an encounter. And
yeah,
that's
it's
not
just
healthy.
at birthdays, I thought.
Yeah, it's not healthy. It's not healthy. Not for a healthy emotional relationship that you want to be close and connected and feel intimacy and love, true intimacy and love and
Yeah,
connection.
no, I think it's the majority of people I know, it's like they don't talk about it, but you kind of know, like,
Yep.
or sleeping in separate bedrooms,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it's so common.
Yeah, so if you can see my slide, melanotannin 2, it does stimulate the melanocytes to produce melanin. It causes a tanned appearance, and that's beneficial if you're concerned about being too white and you're going out and the sun's coming up and summer snuck up on us because we've all been in isolation. Sure, although I haven't been isolated, I've been out on the beach every day. So whatever, however you
That's
take
where you
that.
should be. That's where you're not going to get COVID. This is crazy.
I'm out there in the
That's a
ocean.
whole other. We got to
Yeah,
interview.
that's
like,
another talk for my book, Blood Doesn't Lie. That's out on Amazon now. But
I am
okay.
still freaked out that they
Yeah.
read your book and made you take parts out of it. Amazon
Yep, they sure did.
censored his book
Yep.
because it mentioned COVID.
Yeah. So the melanotannin 2, the thing you need to watch for is oftentimes people of dark skin, sometimes if they use it, they'll get white patches, which is really a problem because they don't want irregular colored skin. And even light people can get patches. It could be a cortisol issue. When you get these liver patches, as they call them, a lot of times they have adrenal fatigue. And you really, as you and I know, because you guys are great at bioidentical hormones in Torrance, California, you're incredible work. You're training doctors. You're working with patients. Many of your patients are doctors, I know, as I have. I have a lot of clients that are doctors. And the point is that you want to intervene with the adrenals first. And adrenals, you have to have enough adrenaline to deal, not adrenaline, cortisol, to deal with the chase, because women will turn you down. Even your wife or your girlfriend will turn you down. So you've got to have enough cortisol to deal with the word no in sales and in your business career and in love pursuit. And that's important. That spark of life. Men have to be, if they want a woman, they have to pursue them. Even if they've been in a relationship for a long time, they have to figure out ways and creative ways. So if you don't have enough cortisol and your adrenals are shot from drinking coffee and being up all night and stressed all day and not getting enough sleep and so forth, then the reality is people walking around with adrenal fatigue are highly susceptible to infectious agents and conditions and issues, which that's another, again, story for Blood Doesn't Lie. But I would say that the adrenal glands are important from lovemaking perspective, because then you can augment testosterone, you can augment growth hormone and thyroid, which are anabolic, whereas cortisol is catabolic, and you have to have that balance. If you go and push the anabolics first and you intervene with testosterone and DHEA and thyroid, and then you all of a sudden you throw the person into congestion, cold, flu, bronchitis, or chronic fatigue because you've hit it too hard on the adrenal, excuse me, on the anabolic side, and you haven't adjusted for the adrenals, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, they found that when your adrenals aren't working, so your body's pumping out corticotropin releasing hormone, right?
Yep.
Which then makes ACTH, which then stimulates cortisol. Is that CRH? If your adrenals aren't working, it's pumping that out. Huge mast cell stimulator. So all this inflammation, which we're
Yes.
finding is a problem with even sexual function,
Yes.
every disease of aging. I mean, name it, neurodegenerative disease, autoimmunity, all that stuff. So you're right, exactly right with that.
Right. So we want to support them with adrenal glandulars, with, we use adrenal immune support. There are elegant methyl donors that help to allow the liver to handle 1 billion chemical reactions per second. There's the lifestyle factors, getting outdoors in the sun to build up natural, healthy cortisol and adrenal function, making sure you reduce toxic levels of, say, alcohol and other things that can affect the adrenals. But, I think when you get back to the sexual perspective, you've got to remember now, if you have a person with healthy adrenal function, and you can augment IGF-1. And this is also a very effective peptide, very potent, and many practitioners are familiar with its application and use, and it has a different benefit than human growth hormone itself. Although you and I know human growth hormone itself will cause the liver to stimulate the release of additional IGF, but there's many anti-aging doctors in Europe who are using IGF-1 to help rejuvenate nerves and help to build some muscle density. So as we age, we face muscle wasting, right? And I don't believe we should eat a lot of excess animal protein to build up muscle density, because you'll do the opposite. The animal protein is loaded with estrogen anyway. You're going to gain body fat. You're going to get the opposite benefit. So IGF-1 is an appropriate intervention from a perspective of anti-aging and sexuality.
And as opposed to, kind of, IGF-1's approved for children for, basically short stature and that. I do have a little concern with it in older individuals, because if you give growth hormone, you get IGF-BP3 increase, which prevents cancer. And that, in terms of long-term data. And I assume you use the peptide secretagogues to stimulate your own, probably the most common CJC ipamorelin, and you can't overdose. If you do too much, it doesn't work any better.
Yeah, so you're right on. CJC 1295, epamorelin, semirelin, the tesamorelin, and then of course GHR3, GHR6, which are shorter chains. Human growth hormone is 191 amino acid chain. These peptides are shorter chains of essentially amino acids, and so the body tends to want to complete the, if you will, the missing chain, so it actually helps the body produce additional human growth hormone, right? So it's a negative positive feedback loop, as you refer to. Somatostatin, as the graph shows, and GHRH and pituitary growth hormone, and then that stimulates muscle synthesis, protein and amino acid transport, bone proliferation and strengthening of the bones, sometimes a reduction in adipose, but some people, depending on the mix of peptides, they might get a little too hungry. So we want to choose the one, if they're struggling with obesity, that would not stimulate an excess appetite. But if they do use the one that causes more appetite, just eat more plant-based foods, fruits, vegetable soups, salads, beans, and that way you're not eating more animal product, because animal product is going to cause you to gain weight, without a doubt. But the liver, the IGF-1 anabolic effect, absolutely true in terms of its ability to bring protein synthesis and neuromodulation, ghrelin. So I'm a big fan of these peptides, and I think you're doing a great job with investigating oral deliveries. In the early days, I had worked with Dr. Eric Dady of oral deliveries of peptides, so I'm a big fan. We know that insulin can be absorbed nasally, so FDA did approve without having to inject that large amino acid chain. What is insulin? 141 amino acid chain. So the fact that we have these peptides with good delivery systems, they may very well absorb orally as well. Isn't that some of your
And
research?
it is very interesting. It's like they'll have like someone put a peptide out and say liposomal. Liposomal really makes no difference with the peptide, unfortunately, in general, because it's just they're polar. They're uh, they're not they're hydrophilic, so they don't get into the tissues. But it's amazing. It's amazing how difficult it is to get a peptide to absorb orally. And you know what, it's been 30 years they've been working on to get the insulin and these things absorbed. But yeah, basically the all the technology is advanced that we'll have some very cool things out by the time this airs. So yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, and you know it's good to look at these peptides. Epitalin, you know, it resets the HPA, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, has a positive effect in reduction on disease. It is purported to lengthen and preserve the length of the telomeres and increase melatonin for better sleep. And of course, sleep is one of the great ways to restore your hormone levels. Absolutely great.
And
Testosterone, growth hormone,
and
and so
do you
forth.
think the epitalon, to me, it seems like the ultimate anti-aging. You know, it basically stimulates the thymus, which your thymus basically involutes as you get older, causes that immune system to be abnormal. And when you give that with some of the thymic peptides, did a study at 100, I think it's 135 cardiovascular patients with significant cardiovascular disease, followed them for 15 years. The ones who got basically that combination of peptides, they had their cardiovascular capacity, basically their cardiovascular effect improved, where placebo got worse, as you would expect, dramatically less cancer,
Yes.
dramatically less mortality, morbidity, increased quality of life. It's just like it increases telomeres, which is the essentially the biological age of your cells. So it seems like the ultimate anti-aging peptide. And have you ever seen a side effect from it?
No, and you know, you hit on a point linking the telomeres. Peter Duesberg published studies about cancer, and he found that irregular or short telomeres increase the risk of cancer. So here you have a peptide that potentially can lengthen and preserve these telomeres, which may be the crux, one of the key crux, of course, of aging. And we do know there's a number of theories about mitochondrial boosting, and you and I are always on the cutting edge looking at
Yeah,
this research,
that's huge too. Yeah.
right? And using these therapies. I personally do use these therapies, and I test and I measure, you know, the DNA length of the telomeres and myself and some of my VIP clients. And I think we're in an age now where we have to recognize that past generations failed miserably when it came to aging. They just accepted aging as inevitable. I think we're the first generation that looked at it and said, wait a minute, if we can function from a sexual perspective, from a physical perspective, from a mental and emotional perspective, and we can reduce the incidence of killer diseases such as cancer, and we've got to do it in a 5-point process. So we can't just say the peptide, of course, is going to do it all, but in the right conditions of diet, exercise, sleep, lifestyle medicine interventions, supplementation, all of it together, now we might be the first to be able to reach that. And it's not just the lofty age of 100 to 120 and above, it's reaching it in class. I mean, I never forgot, and I wanted to show a slide if it didn't show up, was the picture of these older people with very extremely low growth hormone levels, low DHA. All the hormones have hit bottom. That's not healthy. It's not sexy. It's not good. It's not something that we have to accept. When we look at, you know, people like Bob Del Monteque, who I was his personal life coach, and he'd call me each week. And you remember
Oh,
him. Yeah. And here's a picture, I believe, when he was age 84, picture in the middle of the two ladies in the bathing suit. And Kelly to his side there in the silver bathing suit is 74 years old in that picture. Now, Bob Delmatique was a big advocate of using various types of hormone interventions and weight training and lifestyle management and exercise and the power of the mind. And at age 17, he looked better at age 67 and then at age 80 than he did when he was younger. Now, what we have to remember is that whatever we learn from individuals, that being sexy as we age is a good thing. And I'm a grandparent. I have a grandchild, a granddaughter and grandson, and I have 4 boys and a girl. And my oldest son is 43 years old. My youngest is 11. And I'm single again, so I might end up having another child as I approach 70.
Okay, there's the ad. We'll put it up.
So sexy people do live longer, and I'm proud to have to be the father of wonderful
Makes
children.
sense, right? I mean, you know, yeah.
And at very least, I don't think anyone would argue quality of life, right?
But what drives me crazy is that, you know, and it's kind of, I guess, a little accepted now, but we can hormone optimization. So bringing hormones back to optimal, whatever it is, that, oh, it's normal to be low testosterone, normal to be low. Well, it's like saying it's normal to have cancer, you know, and the only thing that they adjust to optimal is cholesterol, because they can sell a damn drug which destroys your mitochondria and, you know, cause so many problems, you know, Lipitor and these things.
Right.
Instead of optimal, they say they take 95% of the people and they say what's normal. And well, it's normal to die. Well, okay, you know, it's like, it drives me nuts. Why not be optimal? Or it's like, oh, you're normal. I've seen so many doctors, well, they said my thyroid's normal or my testosterone's normal. They're like 2 points above the lowest limit. Like, okay, so only the lowest 2.5, you're the lowest 3% of the population. Like, you got a D minus. Oh, okay, I'm fine with that, you know.
You know, it's interesting that growing up, I struggled with obesity, having high blood pressure. I had a TIA, a transient ischemic attack, a
You
small
kidding
stroke
me?
when I was 22 years old, true. And I was on blood pressure medications and everything was falling apart for me. And fortunately, I learned about lifestyle medicine intervention. I went to work with Nathan Pritikin, which was revealed in 60 Minutes to be a rather profound way to reverse cardiovascular disease. Now we know it also reverses diabetes, and it's a good intervention for arthritic issues. Probably 20 chronic diseases could be reversed just through proper whole food, plant-based, oil-free, sugar-free eating and exercise and the power of the mind. I use a lot of hypnosis timeline therapy to be consistent and to stay on track. I get quality sleep every night. I have a wonderful sex life. My energy's great. And I don't drink coffee. I'm one of those few people, I don't metabolize caffeine well. I do have a product that has some guarana in it, and maybe in a world-class competition, I'll take some of that product, Power and Speed or Lean and Fit and Extreme Energy, and you know, it'll help, you know, level the playing field, because I'm going against guys 20 and 30 years old, 40 years old that are much, you know, genetically endowed, and I beat them. But the reality is that for myself, I think that quality of life, when my hormone levels are adjusted to my age, and I'm you know, as I mentioned, I'm past the age of 65. I 1 year I went off everything, every single bioidentical hormone, every herb. I ate decent. I didn't change my diet too much, but I just wanted to see hormones by themselves, no peptides, nothing. I was doing an experiment. I was getting ready to do a video shoot with Suzanne Summers, with one of the producers, and I wanted to see, you know, and by the end of a year, I got to tell you, I felt like sitting on the couch. I felt like most guys, you know, couch potato, like no interest in business or life or love making.
Grumpy old man syndrome.
It
Yeah.
was terrible. It was terrible. And I would never go back to that. To this day, I'm a big advocate of, for sure.
But people go to the doctors and endocrinologists say, oh, you're fine, you know. And just a super quick story, at a patient who was a dog trainer and was on testosterone, feeling great, was amazing. And then his wife said, oh, you're not a man, you need testosterone. And he went off of it. And he's like, the dogs don't respect me. And
Wow.
it was amazing. He said they won't do what he says. And then he goes back on it and he goes, I'm back. And he goes, a dog bit me today and I grabbed it and that's all you got. And I bit it back, you know? And so he was back, but yeah, it shows, but
It's so true. It's
yeah.
so true. I have a story where I went to Bali, the beautiful island off the coast of Indonesia and Malaysia. And I was in the rainforest where there was monkeys. And this is a true story. There was an American bodybuilder who was using synthetic injectable testosterone, not bioidentical. He was using everything under the sun at very high dosages. And he admitted it. And, we were all in the rainforest. There was a couple Asian gentlemen, a couple guys from Australia and so forth. And as we walked through the rainforest, we got bananas. We were going to feed the monkeys, and the little female and the baby female monkeys and the baby monkeys come up and get the bananas. And out of nowhere, the bushes started shaking and a big alpha male come running out. And he skipped, the big American bodybuilder skipped the other gentlemen that were there and ran right after me, detected me, even though I was, at that time in my late 50s, as the alpha male. He chased me as far as he could out of his range where his females were. True
You were the
story.
man to beat. Yeah.
I went back 15 years later to a rainforest. Clearly, there would have been different monkeys there. And, now in my 60s, and the same thing. The monkeys ignored the other guys and chased me. And, so I say, I don't even need to do a blood test. Just sit a monkey next to me. And if it gets agitated, you've got a good optimal level.
There you go. Hey, we got to wrap up. I could talk to you forever. But yeah,
I think we covered a lot, and I appreciate being on your show.
It's been great. It wasn't even, I have to tell everyone that I have like tons of questions. We never got to them. It was just too interesting. It's been great. This has been a amazing talk. I think hopefully it will really help a lot of people. See, it helped me, I'm telling you. And I learned a lot, and you're an amazing person and a great communicator. And I'm going to have to call you and help me out in the bedroom,
That's why I wrote the book. A lot of guys are suffering in silence.
And so where do people get that book?
They can go to Amazon, and please do a review. It's available at Amazon.com. Just type in books by Dr. Nick Delgado, Mastering Love, Sex, and Intimacy. And my newest book release is Blood Doesn't Lie. And that's a fantastic book to deal with the whole.
I want to say he had to
thing.
change the damn title because he's telling the truth in that book.
Yep.
So prolific writer, prolific communicator, just pretty much prolific in bed, sex god. I don't know what I want to call him. But yeah.
Yeah, please visit docnutrients.com, because we have affiliates for doctors and practitioners who want to get quality products that have been tried and tested over the last 20 years. And I think they'll be excited to share them. We have a number of doctors now providing these products for their patients, herbal interventions, natural, that help to augment their hormonal interventions. And we've worked out protocols that are very effective, and a number of videos and playlists and education. We've even started our own platform beyond YouTube, which we do have an extensive library in YouTube, but our new platform, because of, shall I say, some things I talk about can't be revealed. So
it's called The Truth?
Yeah, it's called The Truth. And so we're excited, and I'm here to help people, and I know the truth will prevail, and that I'm confident about.
I don't know, man.
Not everyone will get it, but your listeners will.
I'm scared.
I am too, but we're going to be strong because our hormones are optimized, and we'll see through this.
We're having great sex. Yeah,
we're going to be having the time of our life where maybe those who don't get involved may not get the benefits that we've learned over 4 decades. I know you've been practicing and doing a great job, and there's so much to share, and you're doing such novel work with your clinic and your group and your products that are becoming available. I'm excited to introduce them to my clients. So it's a fun time.
And likewise too, because I love your stuff, because it's not just thrown out there like what everyone else is doing. It's research, it's new stuff. It's, all very scientific, and nothing, you spend the extra money to make sure everything is what it is. And I love your products. I think I got some right here. Cool. Well, thank you. I had a great time. and learned a lot. And I'll see if I can put it into practice. I don't know. It may take me a couple consults with you.
Yeah.
But it sounds good. Again, thank you. It was one of the funnest interviews. I think everyone should learn a lot and have a lot to think about. Like, hey, how can I make my life better? I think you've put a pathway together, that people can use to improve their sex life, which is a huge part, no matter how much what we want to say, of how happy you are.
Yes, absolutely. And you said it quite well. We also have a free book available at nickdelgado.com. If they just scroll there, they'll see Immune Rejuvenation, the book that was banned. And they can get a free copy of that. Just leave their name, email, and phone number, and we'll shoot them a copy, a PDF, an ebook. And they can compare the new version of Blood Doesn't Lie, which has been written to withstand the test of time. Great information in that book that Amazon finally was forced to accept. But the other book, I have it there available to your viewers as well. And so they can get that.
I'm going to get them both. I'm going to look at them. That's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, my friend. I had a great time and learned a lot. And I just want to say thank you for agreeing to come on our summit. And I'll be calling you.
Looking forward to it, and looking forward to assisting your incredible audience and health professionals who are sincere and interested in taking not only their health to the next level, but helping their clients and their patients to be absolutely at their absolute best. I mean, the time has come. We have the information, the knowledge, and we can work around those issues. You and I have dodged a few bullets. We figured out how to handle the legalities and the issues, and we stand together and chart properly and denote those who will benefit, and people will do well.
Hey, all I have to say is keep up the great work.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on the Peptides and Longevity podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners passionate about optimizing their health. For more insights, resources, and updates, visit our website at www.holtorfmed.com. Together, let's embrace a future of health and vitality. Until next time, stay inspired and keep thriving.